Good morning, uh, Bangalore, Delhi, Visakhapatnam, Pune, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata. Online, I don't think we have a lot of people in Bangalore, 40 people, and it's just continue. The room will continue to fill in next 15-30 minutes, but we would like to get started. Can someone online confirm that you're able to see him? Okay, perfect. I get some confirmations here. So good morning, everyone. People here in the room. Saturday morning, very low energy. Looks like you guys have burnt everything Friday night. Yeah? So this event is very special. One, because ever since the lockdown, right? I mean, there have been a lot of emphasis on security because people, for an IT team, if anybody is from the IT team, they would know. Earlier, you used to have one data center. Let's say that data center was at your office. Now, if you are a 1,000-employee company, your data center will be around 800 data centers. Every employee's home is a data center for you. Yeah? So there is a lot of emphasis that's been put on security, cyber security, even security when it comes to publishing your apps, developing your apps, right? Security at every step. What we call is shift left strategy, right? So today's session is more towards security. So we'll talk about developer first security on the Bitbucket Cloud. And so here's the agenda. You'll see a detailed agenda on the next slides. So we'll talk about Snyk and Atlassian. So how the developer first security in Bitbucket Cloud works. We'll also, take our group photos. We'll break for a tea in the middle of the session. And then we'll end up with a good buffet lunch down in one of the restaurants. Okay. And so who are we? So we are the largest Atlassian community in APAC region. And we are 1,553 members as of this morning, 8 o'clock. So the number would have grown in a few more by now. And we're growing. So these are the qualities of Atlassian Bangalore. We have Vishnu here. He's right somewhere here. And then we have Nagaraj. And then it's me, Girish. So we also run a SOS group on WhatsApp. Again, it's called SOS because don't ask us how to create a Jira project or how to start the Confluence server or how to get started with a new project on the cloud. Right? It's purely meant for SOS. Imagine you're doing some maintenance and weekend activities and all those things, and your server doesn't come up, or you are getting some exceptions. When you bring up your servers and things like that, that is where you can, start pinging us. And this is not an alternative for Atlassian support, right? You should always contact Atlassian support as your, first-hand response. And then, you can also put your query here. But if you want to be part of the group, you can send your name, your company name, and your phone number to bangalore_India@atlassiancommunity.com. And one of us will add you to the group. So before I pass this, start today's session with the Snyk on the developer first security, I would like to quickly run this mic in this room so that we can get a quick introduction of people here who are present here. So, and then I will pass this to the Snyk team who will walk us through the platform and also help us to, sorry, I had a pop-up. So then I'll go and quickly introduce you to the Snyk team. And from the Atlassian stack, I've been working closely just over 14 years. So currently I'm working at Microgenesis, who is an Atlassian partner. So I've been co-leading this Bangalore community for the last 4 years now, along with Vishnu and Nagaraj. So that's me.
Yeah, I'm Sharan Kumar, working from HCL, and I have more than 8+ years of experience in Atlassian, and right now I'm working as a DevOps engineer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, I am Arun Kumar, working on HCL company, 2+ experience in DevOps engineer. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is Navneet, and I'm working. I'm working in Georgia Pacific, which is a part of Coke industry, and I'm working as a IoT security and infrastructure engineer. I'm having around 9+ year experience. Yeah, thanks.
Hi everyone, myself Vijay Ravindran, part of EMR Open Source Product Development Group. I work on mostly on the SRE side of initiatives plus DevSecOps integration as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Shubh Narayan. I'm Director Sales for Snyk India. More than 20+ years experience in this field of cybersecurity. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Murli. I work as lead in Cadence Technology.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul. I'm working as a software developer in Microgenesis.
Hi, this is Tarun. I'm from Cadence Design Systems. I'm working as a DevOps engineer and release management.
Hello all, myself Yashwant. I'm working with Akamai Technologies. So I'm working as a principal DevOps engineer.
Hello, I'm Tejas. I work as a DevOps intern at Brain Enterprises. It's a startup, Hyderabad-based startup.
Hello everyone, good morning to all. I'm Brijesh Pandey, working as Agile Coach for Wipro Limited. Thanks. Total 15 years of experience in IT industry.
Hi everyone, myself Balkrishna. I'm working in ANZ as a Jira admin. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Chandrika, working in ANZ as a DevOps engineer.
Sunil here. Good morning, everyone. Working as an Atlassian engineer for Tesco.
Hi everyone, Vivek here. I work as a Atlassian consultant with Strategics. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jayant. I work for Merck as a solution architect.
Hi, I'm Rohit. I'm Rohit and working as a full stack developer in the Pinwheel Robotics.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Prakash Taket. I'm working with Amru Software. I'm having 10+ of experience into IT.
Hi guys, good morning. I'm Deepak. I'm the account executive for XLA, and I head sales for the APAC region for the organization. We are partners with Microgenesis. Good to see you, Girish. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Myself Niladri. I work with Danske Bank as a software developer, and I have 4+ years of experience.
Hi everyone, myself Manoj. I'm working in Microgenesis. I work on Jira and Confluence tool. Yeah, thank you.
Hello everyone, Nirupama here. I'm a lead engineer from Microgenesis.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandeep, working for Microgenesis as a Jira admin. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Prasenjit Banik. I work with Atlassian Stack for almost over 10 years. I lead the DevOps and Microsoft stack at Microgenesis.
Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Murthy. I work as a manager for technical services at Microgenesis. We are partners for Atlassian, and I come with overall 12+ years of experience. Thank you.
Hi, good morning to all. I am Malik Rajna. I am from MSN as a developer. Thank you.
Hi all, good morning. My name is Rangnath. I am from Dell Technologies. I work on Jira and Confluence as administrator and developer. I have overall of 9 years of experience in Atlassian tools. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good morning. Myself Kanan, and I have around 12 years of experience into information security, and I work at HSBC right now.
You want to quickly introduce?
Hi everyone, I'm Sumit Rai and I'm a software developer at Nutanix, and I have a background in machine learning and platforms development. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Shubhrat Rai and I work with Accenture right now. I have 7 months of experience as an
All right. Thank you all for your quick introduction. So it's time for me to now introduce Vandana Verma, who is Security Relations Leader at Snyk, who is going to talk about Snyk and Atlassian and also give you a quick introduction on cyber security. So quickly to give you a brief introduction of Vandana. So Vandana is a Security Solutions Leader at Snyk. She's a chair of OWASP Global Board of Directors. She leads diversity initiatives like InfoSec Girls and WOSTEC. She's also the founder of InfoSec Kids. She has experience ranging from application security to infrastructure and now dealing with product security. She has been keynote speaker, trainer at various public events, including global OWASP AppSec events, to Black Hat events, to regional events like B-Sides events in India. Vandana is a member of the Black Hat Asia Review Board, as well as multiple other conferences, including Grace Hopper India, OWASP AppSec USA, to name a few. So she is also one of the organizers of Besides Delhi. She has been the recipient of multiple prestigious awards like Cybersecurity Women of Year Award 2020 by CyberSec Awards, Application Security Influencer 2020 by White Source, Global Security Influencer among IFSec Global's top influencers in security and fire category for 2019, Cybersecurity Women of the Year Award by Women Cyber Jutsu Society in the category Secure Coder. She has also been listed as one of the top women leaders in the field of technology and cybersecurity in India by InstaSafe. She has trained over 10,000 plus diverse candidates in cybersecurity. So please give an applause to Vandana Verma. Just give me a moment. We are going to just swap the laptop here.
Girish, post access. Girish, it's Karthi. Perfect. Thank you so much, Girish, for the kind introduction. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming on a Saturday morning. I understand like Saturday mornings are very crazy. Yeah, okay. Good morning. Good morning. Great, thank you. So today we are going to be talking about developer security. We will not be talking Snyk. We will be showcasing Snyk as a platform, but more from an open source perspective so that you can also leverage it. So I know Snyk even before I joined Snyk as an organization because I was part of the open source communities. So when I'm not working with, like when I'm not working at Snyk, I generally contribute to the open source communities. I think it's a good way to give back to the community and at the same time meet and greet the like-minded people. I can see a lot of people who work on Jira, who work on Confluence, who work on Atlassian, who are actually admins, right? Correct? So how many of you are developers? Let's raise the hands. We talked about it, but then how many of you? So do you work on security? Is there anyone who tells in the organization that security is important? There's 1, 2. That's it? 3, 4. Okay, more hands. See, even though it's being live streamed, they're live streaming us. So you don't need to shy away in raising hands and talking about things. It's okay. But do not talk to each other. We're going to be here on the stage. If you have any question, raise your hands. We will take up the question once the presentation is done. So basically what we are doing is we have people on the live chat as well. We will take all the questions in the end. So please try and avoid talking to each other. Or I'll be like looking at you and I can stare so that you'll be like, oh, I don't have to talk. We'll try to make it more interesting for you and vendor neutral. Even Girish mentioned that it's a community event. So we want everyone to be involved in the community event. Share your journey, your perspective, how you've been implementing security. Maybe there's something which you have implemented, which we don't know. So there is a networking and social session where we will be discussing all such things. See, I've been part of such open source communities, and sometimes people are shy, but sometimes they come up with the stories which I've never heard of. Those are very, very interesting stories, which is your journey. And we do a lot of sections for developer security. So we might want to invite you for our live streams as well, where you talk about your security journey. We'll not be talking about any tools, technology, but your journey and the work that you have done in that. Now, about today's agenda, we would be discussing about the developer first security approach, how we can integrate SDLC or security into the SDLC. I'm sure you must have been hearing for a very long time. Let's put security into the SDLC, but we'll give a different twist to it from a code perspective. And we will be talking about code, open source, container security, infrastructure as a code. And here we'll not just be giving Gyan. We have demos ready, how you can use the open source platforms and what are the things that you can do. And we'll try to make sure that you don't sleep in the sessions. So we'll try that. So while we talk about this beautiful journey where we talk about how we can scale, there are research which have been done that there will be 45 million devs by 2030. And there'll be more devs in India. Correct? Can we agree on that? Because everyone says that the most number of devs that we have are in India, right? So you don't have to shy. Let's be interactive. I'll also feel, oh, everyone is listening to me as well. So apart from that, when we talk about dev first security, we don't want security to be a showstopper or a roadblocker. I've been part of situations where way back in 2012 or 13, we used to sit in a separate room and then go and meet the development team and operations team or testing team, QA team, once there is an issue. Now, those things are not there anymore. Organizations are coming and saying that you need to adopt security practices. But can developers do it? Can developers do the security? Yes or no? No. I agree on that. I'll tell you why. Because I have been a dev in my beginning careers, then moved to networking, network security. And then, so when I moved to security, it was like breaking things. Like I love breaking things. So I've broken the routers to whatnot so I can get into your phones and whatnot. That was the interesting bit. But when I moved to application security, I realized that it's a big drift between the security teams and the developers, right? You've been asked to develop the things beautifully. I agree. That's the thing which we want. But at the same time, if someone says that, oh, you have to do the add-on security as well, it becomes again another thing. You have a deadline. Earlier, after 1 year or 6 months, when the release used to happen, we used to go for parties. Like security team was invited at that time to the parties. But then can we say now we can do it? No, we have releases in month. We have releases in days or weeks, or we have multiple releases in a day. Are you agreeing? Right? When that happens, how shall we include security as part of the DevOps model? So one thing which is interesting is the supply chain security, these cloud native applications, we are all getting enabled on different aspects. When we are getting enabled on different aspects, we as security team, from security team perspective, if I say that we need to enable you, and at the same time, architects is that we have enabled devs, and with Snyk also, we are trying to enable the dev teams so that they can use it themselves and they don't need to worry about who's going to say what next. When you're writing the code, it's scanning the code in your IDE itself so that you don't need to do, okay, now who's going to say or who's going to stop my release or who's going to come back to me. While Girish was mentioning about shift left starts as early as possible when you start talking about the development, or you start talking about, oh, this is the code, this is the language that I'm going to be using. But at the same time, there is a threat model where you need to assess what are the risks which are there as part of the code. So that's where Snyk comes in, where it helps around code security, open source security, and it also helps us in understanding that what is DevSecOps. Now, enough of Snyk. Now, what I'm going to talk about is how many of you have seen security getting involved in the DevOps or DevSecOps processes? Is it different or is it same? How is it? Integral part of it. Okay. And any challenges have you faced integrating security to it? Maybe the tooling, maybe the process, maybe people, correct? So all of the three things. But at the same time, we can have the best of people, we can have the best of process, we can have best of technology. But if the culture is not right, we cannot work. So here the thing comes is that when we talk about bottoms approach, where developers are trying to understand that, okay, these are the things that I need to do as part of the security, we need to work very closely with the leadership as well. So we need to speak up. If you don't ask for help, nobody is going to help you. That's my simple funda. That's what I've learned. Oh, this is what I need. And leadership has to, again, it has to be very clear that this is what we can do. This is what we cannot do. Go with the ROI. For me, when I wanted to implement the security project, I was not a developer. I was a security person, but I understood what are the challenges. So I worked with the development team to make sure that we use open source projects and show the ROI that yes, these are the number of bugs that we have fixed. These are the number of things that we have changed in the development cycle. And I don't need to get it scanned afterwards. I can scan it. I can make it part of the day-to-day process so that I don't need to think, oh, I have to do security. And when you show the numbers, when you show the revenue, or not the revenue, but exactly how many bugs can be fixed or how easy it was for you to fix it, then trust me, board cannot even say that, oh, I cannot buy you the tool. So you have to make the efforts first that, okay, let's do it. But then you can't do it alone. How do you prioritize the vulnerabilities? What are the vulnerabilities? How would you know? Then security team has to pitch in. You have to tell them, because security has always been like a big monitor saying that, oh, you have to do it. No, they have to define what are the things that needs to be prioritized, and then you can fix it. And on top of it, while we talk about cloud native, is there any change in cloud native and the application that we used to traditionally build? There's no change, except that we have a bigger environment now. We are not in the four walls of the organization, wherein when we are working on the cloud, we need to define the security for the cloud as well. So that's one addition thing. But then again, there are people who are working on these processes. Another thing is we need to have security champions. Now, all of you are here. Is there any specific reason you are here? Is it just an Atlassian meet, or you thought, okay, there will be some security angle as well? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it is of more interest to me as to see how ISO 27000 integrates with the security that you are talking about today. So that's my interest.
Right. Yeah. So when we talk about security, one interesting bit is you're doing an auditor, right? You are an auditor.
I have also played the role of an auditor. So I was
Yeah. So similarly, devs are also auditors. Let's put it this way. When you're building something, you want nobody to pick those issues in your code, correct? Maybe in any perspective. Now, when we want that, we need to take help of the things that are available. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. There are things which are there.
Sorry, but the truth is that Dev or any other testing team or anybody considers this part of audit as a pain. So if you are talking of integrating security into the whole IDE environment, that feeling of pain will be eliminated. So they are in sync with the security aspects of the whole operation. Yeah.
I agree. And I'll have to tell you one interesting thing. In 2021, January, what happened? There was one of the researcher. Actually, the person was a developer, interestingly. So this person started getting interest in security, that there are too many things that can be done. This person found a bug in Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Now, when the person found out that there is a bug from Visual Studio Code, the person can get access to GitHub and get access to all the GitHub accounts that are there. The person diligently reported it and got a big bug bounty amount. And trust me, it's like a bonus. It is like cherry on top of a cake, because more than security people, developers can be a good security testers. I have built a team where most of the people are security testers or developers, because you know the environment well. I don't know what's being written. How many dependencies are there? How much third-party code I am integrating. So there was a research done by Snyk with Linux Foundation that, okay, let's get together, because OpenSSF is also there. There are multiple open platforms. So let's do a research. So with the research, we found out 80 to 90% of the code on the internet is completely open source. Now that's a huge amount, right? So how are we using that open source code? We are using third-party dependency. We are using platforms. We are using this, that, when whatnot. This is completely open source. When that much of code is open source, it becomes our responsibility that we need to secure it. For example, I love that. I love Star Wars. I love all these superheroes. So there's an analogy by Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. So it's your great responsibility because power is in your hands, not in security. Let's put it this way. Let's reverse that analogy, because you are building it. And if you have that power, you can do so much wonders. And even in the social, I can tell you how to do bug bounties. I think that's one of the things which you can do the best. You can find the bugs better than anyone. Trust me. And while we talk about all of that, we are actually moving towards this modernized approach where security does not dictate, or security actually do not try and dictate that you have to do security. You do it yourself. It becomes part of the life, and you say, oh, I've already done it. You can't question me. Or you come up with solutions which even they have not thought of. I have been in situations where I try to provide a fix, and better than them, development team or operations team said, oh, this is how we can be doing it, and we can actually safeguard our applications. And that's what we want. And that's what we want all of you to be enabled. And I'm sure, I trust that most of you already know it. But we want to hear your stories rather than just talking about what is like everybody knows about it. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite my friend Sandeep on the stage, who's going to talk a little bit about Snyk. And interestingly, we also want to talk about the spelling of Snyk. Yeah.
Thank you, Vandana.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for setting the context. So welcome again, everyone whoever is joining us in person as well as virtual audience. Thanks for joining us on Saturday morning. So I will keep my conversation very brief, right? But I will give you a very different perspective of what Snyk is, right? So Vandana has set the context that where we are talking about, can developers be trusted to incorporate security while they are developing the code, right? Now, there might be many yeses and no, but whole foundational thought we built this platform on, that we believe that if organizations have to go faster, and we are talking about time to market, which is a great competitive advantage to many organizations to grow and sustain in the business. If that has to happen, they have to go faster and they have to stay secure. The only way they can do it is place the security in the hands of developer, right? And to do that, right, it is not that easy because the developers are busy writing the code. So how do we build a platform which looks like a developer tool? It integrates across SDLC with all the developer tools in the workflow a developer is using, and developer find it so seamlessly integrated, so easy that he doesn't feel extra burden to use this tool to take care of the security, right? So I will talk about from that lens, right? So Snyk as an organization, if we talk about our numbers, there are many milestones you can see, but one milestone what we are really proud of is 2,500 customers in last 6 years of our journey, right? And if we talk about these customers are from different verticals. They are of different sizes because security is important to everyone, right? Irrespective of the industry you are in, irrespective of the size you are, right? Security is important. And these customers have placed their trust in Snyk to modernize their DevSecOps model, right? Now, so last year we thought, okay, we have acquired so many customers now, let's revisit them and understand how they have been able to use Snyk and what are the value drivers? How do they measure those value drivers in their environment, right? Because at the end of the day, people spend millions and millions in the technology to support business and get the value out of it. So what those value parameters would be. And when we spoke to our customers, so these are the few of, I will say not all, but few key parameters our customers spoke about. The first is risk reduction. Every vulnerability our developers allow to go to the production, it has a potential risk, and that can translate into millions and millions, right? So we are talking about on an average, our customers save 2.1 million only based off risk avoidance. That means the vulnerabilities they were able to fix well in advance at SDLC, right? And those vulnerabilities never went to the production. Developer productivity, right? I think employee productivity is key to every business. Developer productivity is more important because of the time to market. Organization want to go faster. So faster you develop, faster they go to market, and faster they capitalize the opportunities to make revenue, right? So hence developer productivity is paramount. Now, with the inherent capabilities of our platform, what my colleague Karthik will demonstrate, we were able to give number of hours back to developer to write more code rather than, investing time in understanding how to fix the vulnerabilities, right? The other, I think this is very, very important. Once the list is given to the developers that fix so many vulnerabilities, now prioritizing, deciding which one to take up first and how to fix it, right? That again is a major advantage of this platform. Then we talk about time to value, right? See, technology alone doesn't deliver the benefits. The adoption of that technology on an average, when we spoke to our customers right from the day of the purchase, within how many days they were able to drive the adoption, enable developers to use it and start seeing the benefits. 18 days. Imagine the time to value is so fast. Earlier it used to be in months and years. Today we are talking about only 18 days. That today you invest and within 2 weeks you see the impact of that technology in your business. Right. And of course, we talk about the speed, right? So I think one of the key aspect what Karthik will speak about our platform, because we all scan the code using the platform. The faster it can scan, the faster it can give you visibility, the faster you can fix. And it has a ripple effect on everything, right? So these are the couple of value drivers. So just to take a poll, right? Because there are many DevOps guys and developers. So which one do you think is the most important parameter to your success out of these 5? Mean time to fix, developer productivity, or risk, or time to value, which translate into adoption? Just a quick. Sorry? All? Okay, great. Fantastic. Right. Now, so when we talk about Snyk platform, see when our founders started building this platform, okay. So our first mindset was that today, because we know developers' role has changed, he's not only building the code, right? He's building the not the way the code will be deployed. They are, using a container images, right? Writing the IAC and then deploying it, right? So the developer role has changed. So we wanted to make sure that anything which is being touched by the developer, we should be able to secure it. Okay. So today, that's the reason we talk about platform. So today, platform can secure your first party code, open source, container, IAC, and up to the cloud. And then we have strategic partnership with like Atlassian, Stackhawk, and many other ecosystem partners that you can extend the scope of this platform to many other areas. Now, but again, when we give you all this capability, the core to this is developer experience. That is something we do not want to compromise with. When we talk about developer experience, and you will see it by yourself, when Karthik will give the demonstration, the Snyk looks like your development tool. The way you integrate, the way you start using it, it is just a matter of minutes. Okay, so the focus is developer experience, right? Now, this platform is powered by the security intelligence, another key aspect of any platform, because the quality of your vulnerability database decides, your false positives. And we want to make sure that the false positives are the lowest with Snyk. And there are multiple ways we ensure that our database is unique, right? Because nowadays, as Vandana mentioned, the 90% of the code is open source. That means it is not written by the developer. And now with ChatGPT, the code is being written by the AI platforms, right? So you definitely need a platform which is intelligent enough to call out the vulnerabilities in that environment also, right? That is security intelligence. Then the kind of guidance we give with respect to the vulnerabilities, it is in the application context. So we will tell you which one to fix first, so that you know which one is more critical to the application and can take the action accordingly. There might be few vulnerabilities which can wait, right? They are not critical, they will not break anything, they can wait. But when we talk about the release, you need to fix which can go to the production, right? And then, of course, because developers, of course, you're not a security expert, then we have a module as a part of the platform which gives you a lot of guidance about the security processes, why this is important, how you can address it, right? So in overall, we are talking about a platform which will enable the developers, right, to secure the code to cloud and cloud back to code. The focus is that the platform looks like a developer tool, right? And it gives you a ability, right, to find and fix the vulnerabilities by yourself, assisted by a lot of automation, so that a lot of time is saved, right? In nutshell, overall, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create a shared responsibility model in the organization, that security is not only with the security team, but they can extend the circle of that security to the developers, include the developers as part of their journey. And we enable a very seamless handoff and coordination between developers and security leaders to work together to support organization on their business journey, right? Now, I will invite my colleague, Karthik, and he will be talking about all these things in action, right? So that you can experience it by yourself. Thank you. Karthik.
Thank you, Sandeep. So I know I am in between your tea break and few slides, but I'll quickly complete the slides and then we can break for a tea break. And then when we come back, we'll see things in action, whatever Vanna and Sandeep have been talking about. I'll establish those things and show you things in action, how Snyk is helping different developers and organizations to achieve whatever Vanna and Sandeep actually spoke about, how we are able to kind of scan those applications pretty fast, how we are providing more accuracy, how we seamlessly integrate into the entire SDLC cycle, and shift left or start left, I should say, where we have integration touch points in ID, in your SCM, in at CI/CD, and so on. So with Atlassian specifically, there are different ways we can integrate. Of course, we are an investor plus a customer themselves. So Snyk is actually, I should say, is one of the security vendor who is natively available within Snyk as well. And I'll talk about it and show you in action when we move to the demo. But largely, there are three integration touch point that you see. Is one is whenever as a developer you raise any pull request to merge your piece of application in your Bitbucket, we can test those pull requests and tell you if those pull requests is adding to any new vulnerabilities. If so, you can just quickly fix it, or if not, of course, the reviewer of that particular application or the team lead can just merge that particular PR into the main branch. Another integration touch point that you see is we do have a Bitbucket pipe in your pipeline, where as part of the pipeline itself, you can configure running different Snyk scans and get the results in terms of just before the deployment, if there are any security issues are there or not, or on top of that, based on the severity of the vulnerabilities identified, if at all you think that this particular vulnerability is critical and could break the application, you might want to stop that build, fix that issue, and then move to the deployment. So we do have integration touchpoint there as well, and we'll talk about that. And as I had mentioned, like Snyk is the only security vendor where within the Bitbucket itself, you will be able to see Snyk security results, wherein they pull in these results from Snyk and show you on the Bitbucket itself, the repository, which makes it easy for you to consume the data and then quickly see through how you want to fix those vulnerabilities, right? Along with Atlassian, of course, as I mentioned, there are different integration touch points that we have throughout the SDLC cycle. So it is as soon as you start writing the code right in your IDE, you can quickly perform these scans and see if at all there are any, critical or high issues which you want to fix first, so that later security team doesn't come to you saying that your application has this high and medium issues. Sorry. It is. So there is different way we can integrate with Bitbucket data center as well, right? So we can take that offline as well. But idea is, as Vanna also mentioned, right, or Sandeep also mentioned, wherein we know that developers are really working on really creating some things, and then if you add security on top of that, they might see the burden. And that is why Snyk already, the vision that they had was, we want to be dev first security solution by integrating into the dev workflows and toolkits that they are using day in, day out, right? And then we do not want them to see security as a blocker. That is where we have been able to create something which can scan fast, so that you will not have to wait for hours or days to get the results, and then by that time you would have already moved to some other sprint, for example. But the results are pretty fast. You get those results in the IDE. Along with that, can be a cloud developer as well, right? So we do have capabilities to scan your code or your open source dependencies which you pull in, or probably IAC files that you create, your containers in the IDE, and provide you the actionable remediation advice. As I mentioned, when you raise a pull request, we can test those PR as well. While this particular slide more of talks about Bitbucket, we do have integrations with various other SCN solutions as well. It could be Bitbucket server or Bitbucket cloud, of course, plus GitHub Enterprise, GitLab, and Azure repos, or so on. And idea is you can pull any application that you have written or pull any repo from there and quickly scan it on Snyk and see application security risk posture on one single dashboard itself. Or whenever, as I mentioned, we do have a security tab within the Bitbucket where you will be able to see the results itself. And then when it comes to CI/CD, again, there is another touch point that we have where you can perform quick scan using Snyk, be it your application code or first party custom code that you have written, or any open source dependencies that you have imported, which you would want to kind of use in your application. We can quickly tell you if those open source dependencies are bringing in any risk. Or at the same time, it is not just about direct dependencies that you have included in your manifest file, but those direct dependencies could bring in lots of indirect dependencies as well, right? So we can perform scans on those indirect dependencies as well and tell you if those direct dependencies or indirect dependencies are bringing in any risk from security perspective, or as well as from licensing risk perspective. Could be like copy left, copyright, your LGPL licenses, and so on, right? And then from CI/CD perspective, of course, again, it is not just Bitbucket Pie, but there are various other CI/CD solutions which we can integrate with. And on top of that, of course, on the next slide, you'll see we have our own CLIs and APIs which can be used and leveraged, right? Once the applications are deployed, of course, usually nowadays, if you see, those are deployed on containers, and then those containers again can be hosted on Kubernetes workloads. On top of that, you will have IAC files which can be used for provisioning the infrastructure, and then you deploy it on cloud. So we cater to that entire journey where we can perform scans on those IAC or container images, or any workloads that you have hosted on your Kubernetes platform, or it can be EKS, AKS, GKE, any kind of, depending on what cloud ecosystem that you are using. Plus cloud resources which you are consuming from those hyperscalers can also be scanned. We currently can scan AWS, GCP, Azure. So we tell you if those resources that you are using, have they been correctly configured it or not, or if it can lead to any security issues, right? And then quickly, these are various other integration toolkits that we support out of the box or natively with various other toolkits that developers are using day in, day out. And on top of that, along with that, as I mentioned, we have our own Snyk CLI and Snyk API, which can be used and leveraged to perform or extend the kind of Snyk's functionalities, right? Yeah. So Girish, do we want to break for a tea now? Sure. So once we come back, we'll see things in action, and I'll show you how the ID integration works, how one can fix those vulnerabilities quickly, and then move to Atlassian integration as well. Okay. So yeah, we can cover it. So sorry guys, we just need 10 more minutes to get the tea prepared. So what I can do is I can quickly show you how it works and looks from ID integration perspective. I'll also show you how you can fix those vulnerabilities right away in the IDE. And then, the next platform demo, we can take it after the tea break. Yeah, so quickly, I'm just sharing my IntelliJ ID here. And then when it comes to starting itself, right, it's pretty easy. I go to settings here under plugins or extensions. On the marketplace itself, you see you will have Snyk plugin available, right? I already have it installed, but that is how easy it is to kind of get started. Once you have installed it, for the very first time, it requires you to authenticate, where you can create your own Snyk IO login. You can use Bitbucket, GitHub, Google for logging into Snyk as well, right? An idea is I can quickly perform these scans as well. So let me just delete the scan results and I'll show you how fast it is, right? So we do not have any results available at this point in time. I just click on this green button to start the scans, and we should have results in probably less than 1 minute, right? And if you see, it also is considering various other aspects, like it is providing results for my code security. It also is providing me results for open source dependencies that I am using. It can also provide me the visibility into the IAC files that deployment.yaml files, or can be your Helm charts as well, which we can perform the scans and give you the results. And if you see, we already have results available in the ID. That is how fast we can perform these scans. Plus, on top of these scans, what we are also doing is once the scan results are available, we pass through code security results through our own proprietary AI and ML solutions, so that we are providing you more and more accurate results. Because we understand that as a developer, if you have to work on something and then you realize that it's a false positive, that is really annoying, right? So that is where we provide you more accurate results as well. Now, this is about open source security results that I have gotten, right? Which is, it is telling me that my ADM zip library that I want to use has some critical vulnerability. So in my ID itself, I am getting all the resources that I need for knowing what that vulnerability is, but at the same time, how I can fix that vulnerability as well. So it provides me a CVID, CVSS score. I can read more about it if I am really interested to know what exactly this issue is. And then it is also telling me how I can fix this particular vulnerability, right? So for me, if I have to fix this vulnerability in ADMs, which is critical vulnerability, I just need to upgrade it to 0.4.11, right? What I can also do is, if I click here, it gives me a pop-up and it is telling me that instead of, in ADM zip, there are two vulnerabilities. One is arbitrary file writer vulnerability, and another is directory traversal vulnerability. So I can upgrade it to ADM 0.5.2 directly from here. which should fix both the issues. Since this is Node.js application, I will just quickly have to run npm install. Once that is done, and when I rescan, basically here we are again recreating or recalculating the entire dependency tree in terms of what all changes that I have done should be reflecting as well. And when I rescan the application again, you'll see that ADM zip vulnerability would not be. Now it should give me 102 vulnerabilities. So if you see there are 104 vulnerabilities for now, but when I rescan, these two vulnerabilities in ADM zip should get fixed. So what I'm doing is I'm not waiting for security team to come and tell me that, boss, the dependency that you are using has some vulnerability. Please go ahead and fix it. Security team, if you see, would be involved once the application is already kind of developed or deployed or some modules are developed. What Snyk is helping you do the start itself, when even before extension, right? You are doing all those in your IDE itself. So now, if you see, there are 102 vulnerabilities only, and the vulnerability in ADM zip is not available, right? You are able to fix it right away. Similarly, when I scroll down, you will see there are vulnerabilities related to code security. So there are multiple ways in which we work differently than the existing security solutions, as those were developed from security mindset. Those I would say are more aligned to how security team would consume it. But with Snyk, we just want to empower and help developers as well to take those few of the security responsibilities. And then when it comes to security team, they can of course use the security portal that Snyk has to kind of govern in terms of or see the entire application security risk posture at once. But idea here is when it comes to code vulnerability as well, we just do not work on regex matching or pattern matching kind of scanning, but we do intersemantic file analysis, which means that even if your data is flowing from one file to another file, and if that particular data flow has some vulnerability where if at all you have missed out on some sanitization or input validation and so on, we will be able to pick that flow and tell you this particular data flow could give rise to, let's say, XYZ vulnerability or SQL injection vulnerability. In this case as well, if you see, it is pointing me to line number 38, where I am taking username as a request or parameter from request, and then using it in line number 39, where in find query, it is telling me that this could lead to security vulnerability. Along with that, if you see under here, we are also providing you fixed examples, which can be taken as a reference by developers, and they can start fixing this vulnerability right away in my IDE itself. Okay. So what I do is in this example, it is telling me instead of using object directly, if I convert it into toString, probably I should be able to fix this vulnerability, right? So let me try and do that. And when I scan it again, we should be having one issue resolved. Alternatively, what we also do is we understand that many other times developers might not be aware about those security issues. And that is where you see for issues here, I'm not sure if that is visible clearly, but then idea is we can provide you in context learning about that particular issue itself, right? So in this case, if you see, it was an SQL injection where Snyk can provide you more guidance in terms of what exactly the SQL injection vulnerability is, how it actually happens. in this course, you also get to exploit that vulnerability. So there is a vulnerable application itself on this particular frame, where you can exploit the vulnerability and understand actual risk and impact of having that vulnerability, right? So rather than, your security team coming in telling you that, this is a vulnerability, you need to fix it, you can get in context learning about it. Plus, it also explains how this vulnerability occurs, where exactly the code goes wrong, and how you can fix that vulnerability as well. So all this is available in your ID itself. And of course, if you wish to, do it separately, you can do it as well. Yep. So mainly this is what I wanted to cover more from ID perspective. When we come back, we'll see how different other integration touch points also work, and you get the results, and how you can utilize or consume those results to fix those vulnerabilities and reduce the risk. Yep. Yep. So are you asking if these are tested in ID itself, or yeah, it's tested on Snyk server, right? Wherein we understand that each and every developer's machine might not be kind of highly configured, where it might not have that processing speed or processing memory or power that is required, right? For so that those things back. Yeah, so there is something called as local code engine, which is available with Snyk, which can be used. But Snyk being a security company themselves, we understand how important your IP is to you. And that is how we take utmost care. We do not, first of all, we do not store your code at all, right? We just access that code for scanning perspective and giving you the feedback in terms of what are the vulnerabilities that your code has. Plus, on top of that, as I mentioned, we do not store your code. We do not extract any examples out of your code. We do not use your code for training our engines. Plus, we are ourselves are certified against ISO 27001 plus SOC 2 Type 2 certified, along with various other compliances like GDPR, PCI DSS, CCPA, ISO 27001, SOA, and so on.
Yeah, got it. And one more thing, does it run on the old repo, or only newly written code?
So yeah, you can use it on the new repos as well. But if you have, created some application which is already deployed, you'll be able to run these scans on the existing repos as well, or deployed applications as well. So you can run those scans on existing repo or new repo. That doesn't matter.
Okay, got it.
One second.
So, for example, you have upgraded that version, right? So how we can make sure, okay, after upgrading this version, it is not breaking something else, right? Which is tightly coupled with particular library.
Yeah, that's a good question. I am already going to show you how we deal with it. But just to answer your question, basically, we know that, usually we do identify that and, give you that information as well. If this particular change is going to break your application, or if it will work seamlessly, we show you that in your notification. But when it comes to fixing the vulnerability, if it is, minor upgrade that is required, that will not break the application. But as soon as, that particular fix is developed, or, is available only after certain major versions of that library, we understand that that could break your application functionality. And we will already highlight saying that this particular change, if you do, has chances of breaking your application, and hence you should consider applying this fix locally first and see if it is working fine, or probably you can test it on UAT before moving it to production directly. So we do provide that kind of intelligence as well.
Thank you.
So Karthik, there's a question on the chat. It's from Rajkumar Singh. It says, can Snyk also tell if the upgraded library version will be compatible with the existing code base? Because sometimes it is difficult to upgrade the libraries due to the Java, Gradle, or other libraries used in the source code. For example, I may not be able to use Gradle 3.x version due to Java version used in the code.
Yeah, we do. So, I mean, this guy also asked the same question. We do take care of that, wherein if, one is, it might happen that maintainer of that library has not come up with fix itself, and there might not be a fix available. But at the same time, whenever there are fix available, we will tell you if that particular fix is going to kind of break your application or it works seamlessly, and you might not have to worry it. If that particular fix is kind of breaking change, you might want to test that in your local environment or UAT environment before pushing it to production.
Any further questions? You can raise your hand. I'll bring the mic.
Hi, I'm Sumit. So it's a very good product, I think. One thing in this, when it suggests that these are the vulnerabilities and these are the fixes. So is there any auto fix? Like I view these are the vulnerabilities and I agree on that. I click on a button and auto fixes all the vulnerabilities.
Really good point, and that is also one of the strengths which I was planning to cover it in next session that we do. But yeah, we do have something called as auto fixes, where once you have established the baseline saying that there are all the critical and high vulnerabilities I have fixed, I would want to suggest Snyk to kind of raise auto fixes for me so that I do not have to do it manually, right? So yes, we can do that as well, where you can decide when exactly you would want to turn that switch to kind of start auto fixing it for me, wherein it will raise an automatic fix pull request on my Bitbucket or GitHub, for example. And then as a reviewer, I just need to go and merge that particular fix or pull request in my Bitbucket. So we do that.
Right. And just one more point. Yeah, and that's fine. So when Snyk says that this is critical, this is moderate. So should we show some confidence score also? Like based on the scanning, Snyk is this much confident that this is critical or like something like that.
I just have one question for you. Have you used Snyk before already? I mean, you are already talking Snyk's language, so I'm wondering.
No, I've never used it.
Yeah, so yes, Snyk does provide the priority score as well, and which comes in from the threat intel database that Snyk has, where there is a dedicated security research team who works day in, day out in providing more and more threat intel on each and every vulnerabilities that we have in our Snyk database. Talking about Snyk database, it is already being used by various other OEMs. So for example, your AWS inspector is Snyk in background. The Google Assured OSS, Trend Micro, there are Linux foundations. All these people in background are using Snyk. That is the power of Snyk database, right? Wherein all these OEMs are trusting Snyk with their security as well, right? And then there are more than probably 3,200 vulnerabilities that Snyk has found and has contributed back to NVD, right? And which is where, to your point, Snyk does provide you the priority score and threat intel, which can help you prioritize your fixed efforts, which can tell you if that particular vulnerability is really applicable in your case. For example, it provides insights as well, saying that this particular vulnerability can be exploited in certain scenarios only. So if you are not using this particular version, you might not be vulnerable, or specific function within that particular library, then you are not vulnerable. So that provides insights. Plus, from prioritization perspective as well, there are multiple things that we can do, which I'll cover and show you in the demo as well, in terms of if there are more than 100 vulnerabilities, you might not be able to fix those at once. Then how do you prioritize? So prioritization score is one, but then there are multiple other filters that you can play along with or around with, which can help you focus your fix efforts on, let's say, top 20 vulnerabilities to start with, and then I move 20, and then I move to next 20, and so on.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So the last simple question, demonstration you did, it's showing the level of library level. It's showing where it is the vulnerabilities. But is it possible to show? I'm using third-party library, which is open source. I have all source code access also. Is it possible to go with that extent that with the source code I can find some suggestion that we can fix so and so, means I can come across with a vulnerability and update my code.
Yeah, exactly. So as you mentioned, because it's a third party library and you're saying that code for that third party library is also available with you. In that case, of course, Snyk will be able to help you by scanning that third party code and tell you if that third party code has any vulnerability which is used for creating third party library, and then give you a suggestion saying that these are different vulnerabilities that are there in that particular third party library. Please consider fixing it, and this is how you can fix it. Plus, that third party library itself could be making use of some other open source libraries within that particular code, right? So over there as well, we can suggest you saying that this particular third party library in turn is using some open source library which has XYZ vulnerabilities. Please fix it using XYZ thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will show the code level, source code level. Example, third-party library source code I have, means that third-party source code level, it will show the vulnerability, or how it will be?
Yeah, we'll be able to scan that source code for the third-party library that you have and tell you the results in terms of different vulnerabilities that this particular code itself has. Plus, when they are developing the third-party library, it also be using some open source libraries to use functionalities of those existing open source libraries. So those could have some security risk or vulnerability as well. So we will be able to tell you that this particular third-party library in turn is using this open source library and has a vulnerability, and how you can fix it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can now break for a tea and then come back, and then we'll talk about how we have Snyk platform and how it can be leveraged by security team as well as development team, and how tightly we are integrated with Atlassian, and there are different touch points that we have. Thank you. So thank you everyone and welcome back. Just quickly, of course, before going on break, we saw integration touch points from ID perspective. Now I'll move off talk about how different integration touch points can be leveraged, and of course, walk you through Snyk portal as well. So from from integrations perspective, there are lots and lots of other integrations that we have, including GitHub, GitHub Enterprise, GitLab, Bitbucket, Azure repos, and so on. When it comes to container registries as well, there are various container registries that we can integrate with, and then various Kubernetes platforms, CI platforms, IDs, and lot many other integrations. It is pretty easy to set up all these integrations, can be done in less than 5 minutes, depending on complexity at your environment, but it is one-time effort. Once that is done, it is pretty easy to onboard any application and perform these scans on Snyk. And these are various integrations which I have set up. So let's say, for example, I can quickly take Bitbucket as in one of the SCM integration or one of the example. I can pick and choose which particular application or repositories I would want to perform these scans on. यहाँ पे कनेक्टेड है वो है कि इसमें चला गया पावर सेविंग मोड में गया वो so it's just some technical issues. My laptop has gone into power saving mode. Could be that could be the reason why it is working slow or limited internet. Just give me a moment. Power saving mode is Yep. So thanks for your patience. So basically on this page, you see I have various repositories. So I can pick and choose any repositories which I want to perform these scans. I can also exclude specific files which I do not want to be scanned using Snyk, or could be some repositories or folder structure as well, which I can exclude, so that it might happen that there might be some test folders which you do not want to really scan and get the results, which could add to some noise. So you can exclude those as well. And once you have selected and finalized your repositories, you just click on add selected repositories. That's it. There is no further configuration whatsoever which is required from your end or Snyk's end. Snyk will automatically identify different components being used in your repositories and perform these scans automatically. It automatically identifies programming language that you have used. It automatically knows which framework you have written that code on and perform the scan. So for example, in this case, if you see, there are different components that I have used. The code repository itself had a Docker file, so it performs scans from container perspective. It also identified one of the manifest file for Node.js, which is package.json file. So it was able to identify that and perform the scan from security perspective. Whatever custom code that you have written, it does code analysis on that. So you see one of the item as code analysis. And based on different IAC files that you might be using, it could be Terraform, CloudFormations, or deployment.yaml and so on. If it identifies that, it performs IAC scans on that, right? I'll also cover how container images which are already built and deployed, or I should say maintained on any container registries, how you can perform scans on that and what value it can provide. More from it will tell you vulnerabilities coming in because of the base image itself, plus vulnerabilities which are introduced when my users are writing some instructions to be included in that particular container images, right? So let's start with package.json file, which is open source analysis. And then here under dependencies as well, as you see, while on this particular page or manifest file, it might have less than 25 dependencies. Let me zoom in a bit. But from Snyk's perspective, we have scanned more than 567 dependencies, because we understand that those direct dependencies could have some transitive dependencies or nested dependencies or indirect dependencies, which could bring in the risk as well. So just to take an example here, if you see express file upload is a parent dependency, and we were able to dig deep down here, and we identified that there is a dicer as a library, which is transitive dependency, which could also bring in the risk. So we are able to identify vulnerabilities in direct as well as indirect dependencies. Plus, we identify vulnerabilities from security risk perspective as well as licensing risk perspective. And then on the right here, you see various vulnerabilities which are identified as part of this particular project. It of course gives you all the details like CVEID, CVSS score, and so on, how it is introduced in your environment, how you can fix it. There are remediation advices which are provided as well. But very importantly, it provides priority score as well. So for example, in this case, this particular vulnerability has mature exploit available in a while, which makes it more vulnerable, or should be, I should say, which makes it, easy to exploit because mature exploit is available in a while. Anyone can search for that exploit and start find that on random servers. This particular vulnerability has a fix available as well. The CVSS score is also high. If some vulnerabilities are trending on social media platform like Twitter, we do add that to our priority score as well, because that particular vulnerability would have gone through multiple eyeballs already and has higher chances of getting exploited as well, right? So we do add that to our priority score so that developers can take that into consideration and prioritize their fix efforts based on that. I can directly raise a Jira issues or Jira ticket from here and assign it to developer who is going to be responsible for working or fixing this particular vulnerability. So we do have direct integration with Jira as well. Or if at all there are any other ticketing system that you are using, you can use Snyk API to leverage similar experience or integration, right? So I just create a Jira issue from here, and that is how closely we are integrated with Atlassian suite as well. What I can also do is, let's say, for example, there are 104 issues, right? I would want to start with, let's say, critical and high. I'll fix my vulnerabilities, which has, some fix available or some partial fix available. I will focus my fix efforts on some vulnerabilities which has mature exploit available in a while or proof of concepts available with Snyk, and of course something which is open. So now you will see that from 104 issues initially, I have really drilled down to 21 issues that I have to focus on and start fixing it, right? That is how easy it is. Plus, what I can also do is I can click on fix this vulnerability, which will open a fix pull request on my Bitbucket, right? And this is what it would look like, where on my Bitbucket, it adds a comment saying that what all files that needs to be changed to fix these vulnerabilities. What is the severity of this vulnerabilities which I want to fix? The priority score from Snyk for those vulnerabilities, the issues themselves, of course. And very importantly, if you see, if these changes are breaking change or non-breaking change. So we are already providing you those details which can be used and leveraged, right? Plus, whenever someone raises any pull request, we can scan those pull requests as well and tell you if those pull requests are adding to any new vulnerability or if it is good to be merged into the main branch, right? So for example, quickly here, if you see, this is the Snyk security scan that was done, and it tells me that there are 3 vulnerabilities which are getting added because of the changes that I want to do, right? So I can quickly check through those and fix it before merging it, right? Plus, if I open this in a new tab here, you can also see what are those 3 issues which are getting added. So I have this 3 vulnerabilities. I can click what those vulnerabilities are to see, and then fix those before I raise a pull request, right? So that can easily be done. I'll just move here. This was more from SCA perspective or open source analysis perspective, right? Similarly, when I go back, let's start with code analysis, which is for your custom code or first party proprietary code which you have written. Again, functionality still remains the same, wherein I'll be able to open issues on my Jira and assign it to developer. Plus, few things that we do differently here is, as I had mentioned earlier, wherein we work on intersemantic file analysis. That means that even if your data is flowing from one file to another, we trace that entire data flow graph and tell you if that particular data flow graph has some security issues or vulnerabilities. Not just that, let's take an example here. It also helps me with the fixes, right? So one is here I have entire data flow graph, which tells me how the user input has been taken, how it flows through the code, how it sits in a, some function which could lead to security vulnerability, which is open redirect vulnerability in this case. I can read more about that from CWE link here. I can click on fix analysis, which kind of talks about what that vulnerability is, what are the best practices to prevent this kind of vulnerabilities, and different fix examples, which you see on the right, which can be taken as a reference. Plus, I have this Snyk learn link as well, which provides in-context learning. So when I click here, it will open a new tab and will talk about what that open redirect vulnerability is, and then I get to exploit that vulnerability as well, which helps me understand actual risk and impact of that vulnerability. And then, of course, if once I scroll through and go through entire course, it also provides me how I can fix these vulnerabilities as well, right? This is, again, more from code perspective, but then as you saw on the previous Atlassian screen as well, wherein whenever any new commit or new pull request or any changes happens in code, we can reinitiate the scan and, kind of give you the security risk poster if at all there are any new vulnerabilities are being added, or if it is good to be merged into your main branch. Project called Bitbucket. You'll see I can raise automatic fix pull request as well, right? Wherein then I can further configure it or customize it for this specific project or for entire org, where I can ask Snyk to raise automatic pull request for just new vulnerabilities, or do you want to cover backlogs as well, right? Interestingly, when it comes to Dockerfile, this is something what Snyk as a player only provides in the market for now. I do not know of any other solutions providing this. When it comes to scanning Dockerfile, you understand that Dockerfile is where they start building the containers, right? And then what we are helping developers here with is, we know what current base image that they are using, how many security issues or vulnerabilities are there in that current base image itself, and provide them with the minor upgrade or major upgrade or alternative base image upgrade options. So rather than them fixing each and every vulnerability one by one, if they are able to use some secure base image, they can reduce the number of vulnerabilities drastically and hence the risk drastically. And then I can start pulling in the dependencies or packages which are required for my application to run, right? So that can be done as well. And then from container image perspective, as I mentioned, we do have integrations with various container registries as well. I'll just quickly take example of Docker Hub here, where I have this image, container image, which is scan. Advantage is it can tell you whether those vulnerabilities are coming in from the base image that I have used, or whether those are being introduced because of the user instructions which my developers have written. So it becomes very easy to kind of bifurcate and then focus your fix efforts based on that. Also, this is what I was talking about. If something is trending on Twitter, we do add that to our priority score as well, right? Also, from IAC perspective or infrastructure as code perspective, there are various scans that I have done, or Snyk has done, I should say, where Snyk identifies different vulnerabilities in those IAC file, and structure, as you see, remains the same, wherein how this particular vulnerability is introduced, what is the issue itself, what is the impact of having this issue in your IAC, and then how your developer can fix it. So even before the you go ahead and provision the infrastructure, you can identify these loopholes right in your ID or in Snyk platform or in CLI, and then fix those before you go ahead and provide that infrastructure, right? And on top of that, we understand that certain businesses might have their own custom rules which they would want to use, which is where Snyk allows you to build your own custom rules for infrastructure as code, which can be used to scan. I mean, you can use that for scanning it with Snyk as well, right? And when it comes to IAC file, of course, there are various standards we follow, or other two, like CIS benchmark is one of the common one. Plus, there are different best practices coming in from different cloud providers. So we do have rules coming in from AWS, or best practices from AWS, best practices from Google Cloud, best practices from Azure, and so on. So we do cover those as well, right? And then one of the important point what I want to cover quickly is from cloud perspective. It is pretty easy to onboard any cloud environment as well, depending on what cloud ecosystem that you are using. You just might need to upload a Terraform file or CloudFormation template, depending on what cloud ecosystem that you are using. And it just needs read writes to read through whatever resources that you have opted for or subscribed for from those cloud providers. And then it can tell you if those resources has any security risk or a vulnerability. So I have lots of environments, right? So you are able to see those here. And then when I click on any of those, it will tell me which resource is bringing in the risk, in which environment, what is the risk. I can read more about that. Plus, I can quickly open a fix, or I should say, how should I fix it as well, which again provides remediation advice for Terraform or for CloudFormation or for deployment.yaml. That is how easy it is. So idea is you get entire, application security risk posture from code to cloud and back to code in terms of how you can leverage to, fix these vulnerabilities as well. So very importantly, it just does not provide you the long list of vulnerabilities after scanning, but at each and every point, it also tells you how you can utilize or how you can use Snyk to fix those vulnerabilities. That is where you can reduce the risk, and that is how you can get the ROI from any security solution as well, right? Plus, just quickly, there is dedicated reporting module which is available. So I should say it's a product in itself, which can help you get the visibility of entire application, or you can go up to teams level or org level. You can, switch between different teams. There are multiple filters that you can apply. Like, for example, if I just want to drill down to specific CV, for example, when Log4j had happened, I would want to see how many of my applications are vulnerable against Log4j so that I can, quickly take an action and then start fixing those vulnerabilities. I can add filter at specific product level. For example, since I'm giving this fixes to be worked on by application team, I would want to filter these issues based on Snyk code and Snyk open source analysis only. So I can pick and choose those products as well. I can filter these based on project owner, or probably when it was introduced, I want to see results for last 3 months or so, and whether those are fixable or not, when was the fix applied, and multiple other filters that you can apply. And very importantly, whatever view you create for yourself, you can share that same view with your team as well. So you just click on copy this URL for this particular view, and then share it on Teams or Slack, for example. And once they log in, they'll also see the same issue as well, or same view as well. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you can really do that, which is available out of the box. For example, as you correctly mentioned, if there is some vulnerability which is not of your focus now, what you can do is, let's say, for example, I go to code analysis report here or any other report as well. And what you could do is I pick that vulnerability which I would want to take in a next sprint, for example. So I just go ahead and ignore it. You can define the time, whether you would want to, kind of ignore it for 14 days or 30 days or 60 days or a quarter, or you might want to kind of ignore it permanently as well. So you can go ahead and do that as well. I can then go ahead and extract the report as well to see how many people have ignored what all vulnerabilities. The ignoring rights as well. I can decide who all should have ignored rights, whether I want to give it to all developers or whether I just want to give it to, let's say, team leads, or whether I want to give it to just security team, right? So I can drive that flow as well, right? Yeah, so we, of course, any other question before I move to Bitbucket side of it? Yeah. Thanks for yeah. So the question that Kanan asked is, what is the false positive rate? His experience is that with some of the other solutions that he have used, provides lots and lots of false positives, which basically creates lots of noise internally. And he again, I am amazed that people are talking Snyk's language, which is where when it comes to false positive, we have seen that since because of our AI and ML that we are able to provide more and more accurate results as well. And we do not have direct comparison, but at least one of these studies showed that we are at least 8 times more accurate than any other solutions available in the market. And then let's say, for example, if at all you feel that there's a false positive or vulnerability which is reported by Snyk is a false positive, there are multiple ways you can tackle that. One of which is, of course, marking it as ignored for some time and then take a look at it. Another is you can directly raise a support ticket within the from the portal itself to Snyk team, and then Snyk team will work with your team to analyze why you feel that it is false positive or why it is not a false positive. There might be some context which might be missing, and then if at all that Snyk team if you still go ahead and tell us that this is false positive, Snyk team will work on fine-tuning those queries so that it is no more of false positive, right? So that can also be done. Now, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thanks. Now, what I want to show here is in the Bitbucket repository itself, right? You have this security tab available, right? And as I mentioned, Snyk is the only solution where Atlassian or Bitbucket has integrated, where Atlassian is able to bring in, or Bitbucket, you are able to bring in the security issues from Snyk for this particular repository. It is pretty easy to set up. I just click on security and I can click on install Snyk, which then asks you to authenticate with Snyk, and then it installs a native application in your Bitbucket and needs authorization based on that. Okay. And then once that is done, you will be able to see Snyk results in your repository itself, right? So if I click on any of these scan results here, you will be able to see all the vulnerabilities that were identified by Snyk on your Bitbucket repository itself. And along with that, of course, it provides more context and the priority score, which we had discussed about it. And CVID, you can read more about this particular vulnerability as well by clicking on this particular link from Snyk, which points to our Snyk's database, where you'll be able to learn more about that vulnerability itself. And then, of course, again, click on visit Snyk for knowing more about this vulnerability, or when it, if at all I want Snyk to raise that pull request for fixing and so on, right? So this is provided in context in your Bitbucket repository itself. And this is one of the kind integration, because I don't know of any other security vendor which works so closely with Atlassian, where you would not see these integrations available with any other security solution, or you'll not be able to bring in the data from Snyk in your Bitbucket, right? Plus, quickly from Jira perspective as well, of course, we saw how we can do it, but then you'll be able to see those issues in your Jira software as well, so that you get, end-to-end view on one single dashboard here, which is from Bitbucket. You'll be able to know how many open Jira issues are there and who needs to work on that. You can assign those to different developers who will be responsible for working on these issues as well, right? And lastly, as part of the pipeline itself, if I select this under pipes, where I can quickly add Snyk, if you see here. So we do have integration, or you can use this, integration with Snyk or Atlassian. And I have just written that entire pipeline. What it does is basically it first authenticates it with Snyk. Okay. And then there are various scans that I can do with Snyk, right? I can pick and choose whether I want to just do open source analysis and code analysis, or I want to do IAC scan as well and container scan as well, right? On top of that, I can set the criticality or severity. If there are, let's say, any critical or high issues identified or found, then I would want to stop this build for now. I would not want to go ahead and deploy. So those things can easily be done and established, right? And then you see, once I run the pipeline, of course, it will run all the 4 scans and send. And then when I go to artifacts here, you see various Snyk results which are identified and seen here. Yeah. So it provides end-to-end integration, starting from your ID to your CI/CD before the deployment. Any questions on this so far?
Hello. Yeah. So I have one more. When you say that we are integrating with ID.
Yeah.
So it's just that after I write the code and I can just click on something and then I get the results. That's the capability which Snyk brings, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I was just thinking that, because you were also mentioning about AI and AML kind of capabilities with this. Does it also kind of, while at writing the code itself, like we saw that SQL injection vulnerability, that toString, we just had to add toString. Wouldn't it kind of suggest at the time of writing code itself?
Yeah, that is not available, and that is intentionally not available because we do not want to be listening to each and every keystroke that developer writes in, right? In that case, of course, the capabilities of the machine which each developer will have has to be high, which in turn increases TCO for my company, right? So that is why, as you see, even if I'm not listening to each and every keystroke, whenever I perform these scans, usually it is pretty fast as well. And it, on top of that, also provides me the remediation advice or fixed advice, which I can use it in fixing that vulnerability itself. And then once it is fixed, I can just quickly retest if the fix that I have implemented is correctly being implemented or not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In the Bitbucket repository, can we set any rules like before merging the pull request, you should clear this critical vulnerabilities or possible bugs?
Yeah, we can work through that workflow as well. Also, for raising the pull request, I can raise it or limit it for just high and critical vulnerabilities to start with. So that can also be done. And then I can disable the merge pull request button right? Where it then is with your reviewer who reviews the code and then decides whether he would really want to go ahead and merge it, or what is that he wants to do it. Yeah, so I guess that's it from my side. I guess we have covered most of the things which I wanted to show. There are a few questions on chat. I'll take that after Sandeep completes that his part of it.
So I will just take quick 5 minutes, to walk you through how Atlassian has been using Snyk in their environment, right? Because Atlassian is one of the investor in Snyk. They are one of the technology partners. Hence, we talk about so much of integrations, right? And in fact, in addition to the current integrations, we are working with Atlassian to have Snyk as part of Jira Security Center, which was announced by Atlassian, right? So you will see more integrations coming. Okay. Now, Atlassian is customer also. Okay, that means that they are using Snyk for all their products across the SDLCs, right, to secure, because Atlassian today, right, they have more than 200,000 customers and millions of community members, and as they want to scale, they wanted to make sure that their products are, there are no vulnerabilities, they are safe, as well as they are compliant, and that is where they evaluated multiple platforms, but finally chose Snyk to put their trust in. Okay, so today, if I talk about how they have been using it, while you can read the numbers on the screen, they are using Snyk open source and container. Okay, and if you know Atlassian, 99% of their deployment is on containers. So they use Snyk to ensure that containers, whatever is being deployed, is 100% safe. Okay, so if I talk about the number of containers which are being scanned, it's around 3.7 million, right? That's a scale. That's a scale we are talking about. And when we talk about even open source, the number of dependencies, right, they are today scanning, they also run in millions. So the whole point is, I want to emphasize on this, is that Atlassian being a very technology innovative companies where they are growing at very fast pace, and they want their products to be safe for their customers as well as to be compliant at the same time, they are using Snyk across. Okay, and I spoke about the scale, right? We are not talking about some small numbers. We are talking about the number of dependencies in terms of millions and millions of containers being scanned. Okay, so I just want to leave you with this thought that Snyk as a platform, right, is highly scalable, right, and it gets integrated with your across SDLC development tools. So companies, irrespective of the size and the industries, they are placing our trust on it. Sooner or later, you might see it coming to your organizations also. So with this, I close this conversation. I thank everyone for joining us. Now I will get Karthik and Vandana back quick QA so that we can have the questions answered. What questions we got on the chat and the questions in this room. Yeah, Karthik and Vandana.
Thank you, Sandeep.
He's available online. We'll tell him. Okay. We'll connect with you offline. Yeah.
So there are a few questions on chat. I'll quickly cover that. One of it is from Nirmal. Okay. He's asking if it is possible to use a service account when it comes to Bitbucket integration and not Bitbucket account.
Bot accounts. Are there any ways
We can reduce the license cost. So, Nirmal, just to answer your question, yes, you can use the service account for integration. I'll talk about how Snyk licenses works and why it is working in that way. Basically, Snyk licenses based on number of contributing developers, because we understand that whenever there are security vulnerabilities, at the end it will be developer who will help fix that vulnerability, right? It is not security team or service account which we use for fixing those vulnerabilities. It will be developer who will own the responsibilities of fixing that vulnerability, and hence we license it based on how many developers are contributing to that particular repository. Also, let's say for an example, if there are 10 developers who are working on one of the repository, we count that as a 10 licenses. But if that same 10 developers are maintaining other 10 applications or 50 applications as well, we still count that as a 10 licenses only. We do not count how many applications that they are contributing to. And because they are responsible for fixing the vulnerabilities, we license it based on how many developers that repository has who are contributing to the repository. Yeah, so licensing, we just discussed. There's another question more on licensing perspective from Harika, which more of says, will you discuss on licenses as well? So as I mentioned, we license it based on number of contributing developers. And then of course, you can go ahead with the entire Snyk form, which covers Snyk open source, Snyk code, with, let's say, open source and code only. So we can choose those as well. So we will license it just for 2 products, and how many developers are contributing to those applications which you want to take in Snyk scope. So we just count those. Also, we are talking about number of active contributing developers. So we just take number of contributing developers who have contributed to those repositories in last 90 days, right? Because we understand that if your application is already deployed and is live, there might not be many contributing developers, or there might be just one, developer who might be just kind of working on some fixes or some changes or some enhancements. So in that case, even though earlier there were 20 developers who were working on that project, but since it is deployed already and there is just one active developer who is maintaining it more from fixes perspective or enhancements perspective, we just count him as one Snyk license. Plus, on top of that, this developer, even if he is kind of using it from IDE or from SCM or from CI/CD perspective, we just count him once. Even if he is using Snyk platform directly, we just count it as one license. We do not charge anything extra for integration. So all the integrations which you see are just available for free. There are no additional integration charges. And for security team who might not be contributing at all, but still might want to see it more from reporting perspective and governance perspective, or what all different security risks are there in that application, those can just log into Snyk directly, and we do not count any licenses for security team as well. They can just onboard any application, they can run scan, see the application security risk posture of that particular application, and how many developers were working on that repository from licensing perspective.
User license.
And for enterprise, of course, it's a different. How many projects you would want to onboard on Snyk. So utility that can be run to see how many developers are there who are contributing actively. So I guess these were the questions which were there on chat as well. So we covered all those questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time on Saturday and coming here and listening to us. Thanks to people on who have joined virtually as well. So if not, I'll invite Girish back again.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Vandana. And the entire Snyk team. I have Shubh Narain here, who's a director of sales from Snyk. Then I have Sandeep Agarwal, who's a channel manager for Snyk. And I want to thank the entire Snyk team for being present here today, to give us a wonderful session on app security, I think, which is a trending topic right now. And as a gratitude, I would just like to announce that Atlassian has sent me a few gift vouchers, which will be emailed to the speakers post this event. So I want to thank once again every one of you here who is present and who's also present online, and other chapters of Atlassian who are hosting us as a co-host. And initially, I forgot to inform that there are people, chapters from Hong Kong and Singapore. I think even Tokyo has hosted this event. So it is literally, kind of, I would say, APAC level event, I can say safely now, because there were a lot of other regions who have hosted this. And I think this was first of a kind of event. I think we had so many co-hosts for this event. So I want to thank again every one of you for taking out time. So we'll have a group photo now. And after group photo, we'll quickly break out for a lunch. Lunch is in the restaurant below. And people online, I would like to thank you again. So we are ending the Zoom session right now, so that we'll continue with the photo session here. And once again, thank you, Atlassian, for sponsoring us this wonderful event, and Snyk as well. And are you going to put up a booth here, or maybe?
In case if you still want to have a hands-on experience of Snyk, right? We will put up a. So if you still want to have an experience of Snyk platform, right? So on that corner, we have a big monitor and we'll attach, our laptop to that. So you're free to come and experience the platform by yourself. Yeah, thank you.
So lunch will wait. So, if you're interested, if you're hungry on Snyk to learn more about security, then the Snyk team will be here. So you can just go ahead and have your hands-on experience, running scans on your app, or if you have a GitHub account, you can connect your repository and quickly, capture the flag event. Yes, as I read about it. So I think that is where people go in and run the hands on the repositories, and then they flag these vulnerabilities. Okay.
They get goodies. They find vulnerabilities themselves.
Yeah. I think this is something similar to bug bounty, if I'm correct. Okay. We'll quickly join here for a photo session, and post that we'll break out for a lunch, and then Snyk team is here. You can always go and contact them. All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.